So the first tweet for today is a named tweet. It's called Massively Depressing, because what you need right now during this COVID-19 crisis is more depression, but it's worth discussing. Massively depressing. There's a sadness in that if someone goes into a depression after realizing how much they've been led around to disown their family and friends for political beliefs, after realizing how much they've been led around to disown their family, that nobody would really notice how sad they are. It's their normal. Mass depression is a mental health crisis. So, a lot of people in this world actually have clinical depression. We have people, I know people personally, I don't want to name names, of course, for privacy reasons, but I do have people in my life that have chemical imbalances in their heads and in their brains, and they go through cycles of depression. And in some cases, a little thing called mania. They go through those cycles. So there's a sadness in that if someone goes into a depression after realizing how much they've been led around to disown their family and friends for political beliefs. So this is talking about how a lot of people now, especially over the past 4 years in the United States, have been socially isolating themselves from certain people based on political beliefs. Oh, you're a Democrat. I don't want to talk to you. Huh, you're a Republican. I don't want anything to do with you. Orange man bad. So we've seen a lot of that, but it goes a little deeper, because what happens is you start to delete friends from Facebook, and you start to hang around with different people, and you start to organize your life based on what people's internal belief systems are, and out of the two choices they had, who they voted for, Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, people start to do that, and eventually, you whittle it down to a small group of people, and you realize, wait a second, I had twice as many friends before, and now I don't even talk to anybody because of politics, because of this. Again, this is going back to the emotions. This is emotion over reason. We should be able to talk about these things, but what happens is people that have, and I'm not a psychologist, I don't have any psychiatry background, but people that already have sort of a negative outlook on life, I think you know who I'm talking about. You might be somebody that looks at the glass half empty. And if some people are just darker tinged, they have a darker tinged outlook, they tend to derive more energy from negativity. They get more power from negative energy. And it's not necessarily good or bad. I'm not trying to be judgmental. I actually have moments where I do feel like I get quite a bit of energy from negativity as well as from positivity. So I do advocate learning to navigate these irrational emotional landscapes that we all experience every day and find our own zen in the process. But it is depressing because nobody would notice. If somebody is always depressed, if they're always in a state of depression, that is their normal. And so if this is specifically focusing on people that have been led to alienate themselves, to cast aside anybody that disagrees with them, it's very depressing to think about. In that, it is a mental health crisis for people to believe that the world is coming down. The sky is falling. If you're always in a state of fear and anxiety, this goes back, my friend nationalist Whooper would actually tell you, two of the easiest ways to persuade people is if they're in a state of fear, or if there's something you can tie to their identity, because they will have, again, an emotional attachment. But fear is one of the strongest, most powerful emotions. And so if someone is fearful that, never mind what's happening with the coronavirus, but just thinking that, oh, this president, for example, President Trump is destroying our country. And for 3 years, up until February, until we had to close the economy completely, things were going pretty well. I mean, you could definitely make a bunch of complaints, also give a bunch of accolades, but some people were thinking, because of the way the media presents what's going on, we do get our opinions assigned by the media. People were thinking, well, everything is shit. Everything is shit. And if you're already having, you have personal issues in your life, you might be having relationship trouble, you might have all those clinical depressions as well. Those sort of, you might actually have depression. You might be taking antidepressants already. And then the news is all negative as well. And it just stacks up and stacks up. And then other people are also experiencing it. They are then validating your viewpoint. Like you see that on the news, that things are bad. And maybe they in some ways are bad. I'm not saying that everything is peach wine and roses. But they then get this message amplified and amplified and amplified. Social media, every day going on, negativity, negativity, negativity. And ultimately, they start to go, well, if they believe it's bad, it must be bad. How can 5 million, how can 10 million people be wrong, right? We get into this mindset where, actually, my friend Spreadsheeticus, at Spreadsheeticus on Twitter, has talked about how movements and beliefs go in waves, big waves and little waves on a chaotic sea. So if enough people form a big wave of thought and they go ahead and they start to just amplify this message that things are a certain way, there's become a large group of people that every single day they go onto social media, they go out on the street and they say, everything's shit, everything's bad, everything's bad. I'm not sure if that gives them any positives, because of course some of the greatest art is made by people that are in lots of pain. So there's lots of benefits to negativity. There's a lot of good things that can come from it. But by the same token, people are becoming massively depressed. And this was about 8 months ago that this tweet was put out. And now we have the virus that's going on. It's eating up our lives. I'm in quarantine right now, working from home here and doing a tweet video for you. But, in general, it just amplifies the existing internal pain we already felt. If everyone else is doing it too, it just validates it. And so we have people that, they go over the edge. They start to really get suicidally depressed because not only did they have maybe a chemical imbalance, maybe bad home life, maybe a bad work life, something is going wrong in their lives already, and then they're just getting this tidal wave of negativity through social media and otherwise. And a lot of it is coming because of basic partisan differences, basic partisan political differences. Like, what's your favorite color? Red or blue? Stuff like that. Red or blue, and so I do want to make people aware that mass depression is a mental health crisis. It's changed a little bit recently because everybody is in the same boat. Like, I think that we have actually kind of come together politically, and all these different belief systems. People are putting aside religion. They're putting aside all their prejudices. People are coming together. Unless we've heard a lot about domestic violence recently, because people are holed up in husbands and wives and husbands and husbands and wives getting on each other's nerves, boyfriends, girlfriends. All these couples, we've had some domestic violence issues recently with the quarantine. So things are not great right now. We are coming together, but in terms of mass depression, I mean, I've seen this. I have friends. I don't want to name names, but it feels like you look at what's going on with them. They're already in a fragile emotional state. They're depressed. Things aren't going well. They need something to look forward to. They need someone to fill the glass. It's half empty. They need to fill it. And then they turn on the news and it's just wall to wall incompetence, negativity, negativity, negativity. Some of it may be true, some of it may be false. But in the end, the effect is what matters, not so much the nuts and bolts. It's what happens at the end, the ultimate effect, that matters. And it's become a bit of an issue. I think it's different now, but and back in June, it was really clear that people were becoming depressed because of the kind of media they intake, the kind of things they listen to, and I hope that they can derive positivity in the end. And I hope that people don't get to suicidal levels. I like to bring people up. I don't want to. This channel is about positivity as much as possible. Even in these dark times, we want to keep our eyes on the sun and not be looking down at the ground and letting ourselves wallow. Because ultimately, we don't want to spiral down. We want to aspire to something greater. We want to look forward. We want to have something big to look forward to. So we try to push that message on this channel.